We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Highlighting country's approach to think not for itself but for whole, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi says India is not only the oldest civilization in the world but also a safe haven for humanity. Maldives holds 20th parliamentary elections, 368 candidates in the fray for 93 seats of People's Majlis. US House approves legislation to provide $95 billion security assistance to Ukraine, Israel and Taiwan, sends to Senate. US marks 25th anniversary of Columbine school massacre. Biden reiterates call for assault weapons ban. And holders Manchester City reach FA Cup final, beat Chelsea 1-0 at Wembley. Bernardo Silva scores late goal for his citizens. News in detail now. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi attended the 2550th Bhagwan Mahavir Nirvan Mahotsav in the national capital New Delhi on Sunday on the occasion of Mahavir Jayanti. The festival is being organized on the occasion of Bhagwan Mahavir Swami's birth anniversary. PM Modi released a commemorative stamp and coin at the inauguration of the event.
देश के लिए अमृतकाल का विचार ये केवल एक बड़ा संकल्प ही ऐसा नहीं है। ये भारत की वो आध्यात्मिक प्रेरणा है जो हमें अमरता और शाश्वतता को जीना सिखाती है। हम 2500 वर्ष बाद भी आज भगवान महावीर का निर्वाण दिवस मना रहे हैं। सदियों और सहस्त्राब्दियों में सोचने का ये सामर्थ्य, ये दूरदर्शी और दूरगामी सोच, इसलिए ही भारत न केवल विश्व की सबसे प्राचीन जीवित सभ्यता है बल्कि मानवता का सुरक्षित ठिकाना भी है। ये भारत ही है जो स्वयं के लिए नहीं सर्वम के लिए सोचता है। ये भारत ही है जो स्व की नहीं सर्वस्व की भावना करता है। ये भारत ही है जो अहम नहीं वयम की सोचता है।
Now let's get to the latest on the world's largest democratic elections in India. All right, talking about the rallies, campaigning for the second phase of election scheduled for April 26 gains momentum. Political rallies engaged to garner support from voters for their respective parties. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is scheduled to visit northwestern state Rajasthan on Sunday, where he will be holding public meetings in Jalore and Banswara. Senior BJP leader and Union Home Minister Ahmed to visit West Bengal, Bihar and Assam will campaign for the second phase of Lok Sabha elections. And BJP National President JP Nadda is campaigning in Karnataka and will also hold a meeting with party officials discussing the strategy of the party, focusing on the second phase of polling. And the leaders of India Alliance also crisscrossing states to garner support in favor of their candidates. Congress leader Rahul Gandhi will address a public meeting in central India's Satna. In Congress, General Secretary Priyanka Vadra will address the election meeting in favour of Congress candidate Bhupesh Baghel in Chhattisgarh, Dongargaon. And the Jharkhand Mukti Morcha is scheduled to kick off its poll campaign in the state with Ul Gulan or Revolution Rally in Ranchi. Many leaders including Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge, Rahul Gandhi, Lalu Prasad, Farooq Abdullah, Akhilesh Yadav and Sunita Kejriwal, wife of Delhi CM Arvind Kejriwal, will participate in opposition India Bloc's Ul Gulan rally. And Bahujan Samaj Party's National President Mayawati is scheduled to address the election rallies in North India's Ghaziabad and Amroha. Now let's take a look at other stories making news. BJP leader and party's candidate for the Lok Sabha seat in India's Uttar Pradesh, Kunwar Sarvesh Singh, passed away on Saturday due to heart attack a day after polling for general elections. Kunwar Sarvesh Singh was a strong leader of the party in Uttar Pradesh. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh Yogi Adityanath expressed grief on the sudden demise of the leader. At least 5 dead after walls of crematorium collapsed in India's Gurugram. The authorities have initiated an investigation into the causes of the incident, and the police team is ensuring that all necessary legal procedures are followed. Rescue operations are underway. Repair works underway after several bogies of a train derailed near India's Ayodhya junction, officials said, adding that no injuries were reported in the incident. The authorities launched a rescue operation to determine the cause of the incident. No loss of life reported in the derailment. A fire broke out on the 9th floor of a residential building in Mumbai. The authorities confirmed that there were no reports of any injuries or casualties in the fire incident. Fire tenders reached the spot after receiving the information and started an operation to bring the fire under control. Moderate rainfall brings relief to India's Bengaluru after nearly 5 months of dry weather. India's weather authorities predicted thunderstorms, lightning and gusty winds to batter several parts of Karnataka, giving people a short respite from the sweltering heat. Now, polls to the People's Majlis, which is the parliament in Maldives, are being held on Sunday. In the 4th multi-party parliamentary elections, the archipelago nation will elect representatives from out of 368 candidates across 93 constituencies. As the Met Department predicts a rainy day in Malé, over 2.8 lakh voters will exercise their franchise at 602 polling stations, including 3 polling stations abroad in Colombo, Sri Lanka, Thiruvananthapuram in India and Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. The polls are being seen as a crucial litmus test for the incumbent president, Dr. Mohamed Muizzu's party, which has been under fire by the opposition for its policies. Further, the Brickway faction of former President Yamin is being seen to split votes of the ruling alliance. Dr. Muizzu's PPM-PNC coalition had won the presidential elections in September 2023, riding on an India-out campaign. The opposition Maldivian Democratic Party held the majority in the previous Majlis with 44 lawmakers. All right, let's go across to Colombo. Lead India's Dr. Ahmed Faruki is joining us to talk more on Maldives election. Dr. Faruki, voting is on in Maldives and ballot boxes have also been stationed in the Sri Lankan capital, Colombo. But yes, first major political test for Maldives President Muizzu in parliamentary polls.
Yes, Abhishek, there's a very crucial elections, primarily not just because it's, a parliamentary election, but it's also, a kind of a referendum on the Muizzu government's policies, the stance which the government had taken, the anti-India policies and the pro-China, leaning of the government. So this is, a kind of how the people would respond to the kind of the policies the government had been adopting. So that's a major kind of a test for the government as of now.
And Dr. Faruki, also since the run-up to the presidential election last year, Maldives' political landscape has witnessed considerable fragmentation. Tell us, what do you think are the major issues on which the parliamentary elections are being fought?
You see, if we look at the entire political landscape that has happened, that we have seen over the last 10 years, there had been issues which were being discussed with regard to the presidential versus the parliamentary system. And of course, the Maldivian Democratic Party had a split within itself when Nasheed had taken several of the lawmakers away and created a new party, the Democrats. That was the one major kind of a split. Now with Abdullah Yamin taking away a certain set of voters away from the PPM-PNC combined, there has been, a further split between the voters there as well. So now there are 8 major political parties which are in the fray, and it needs to be seen how the dynamics will work, how the voters will respond to the kind of scenario that exists now. But more importantly, what we have to see is that ever since the kind of derogatory comments were passed by certain government functionaries of Muizzu cabinet, the 3 deputy ministers, and the kind of response that was shown from Indian tourists, they themselves started withholding on the tourism going to Maldives. There had been a considerable slump in the number of tourist arrivals into Maldives, and now we have to see how people respond to it. The people of the archipelago nation, they respond to the kind of policies which the government has been taking. And, anywhere these kind of political circumstances are never, conducive for a healthy democracy. Now, people have the power in their hands, and they have to vote 93, representatives to the Majlis, and that will have a considerable say in the governance of the entire archipelago as now.
All right, Dr. Faruki, keep tracking this. We'll keep taking updates from you.
Sure.
All right, we'll step into a very short break, but still to come on this edition of DD India Live. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken to visit China next week. Details after the break. In Munich Open, Yuki Bhambri and Albano Olivetti will take on Theo Aribej and Victor Cornia in men's doubles final on Sunday. And drag racers in Florida's Key West revved up for a unique race in the 42nd annual Conch Republic Independence celebration.
Tracking the first phase of general elections, Team Poll Pulse has reached India's northeast in Assam. This is the tea city of India, Dibrugarh.
They are
not getting jobs in the local area, like in Dibrugarh or nearby districts and all.
Home to the finest tea, the state is set for a cracker of a contest. This is 2024. Can the Congress and allies offer a fight back, or will the Modi juggernaut be unstoppable? Watch Poll Pulse on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. The US House of Representatives has passed a series of bills that are expected to provide much needed aid to Ukraine and Israel. The passage of the 4 bills comes after weeks of stalling by Republican lawmakers. The Senate still needs to vote on the legislation. DD India's Nick Harper reports from Washington.
And plenty of political wrangling, but that enormous $96 billion foreign aid package has now passed the House of Representatives, where it has been languishing for weeks. The only way that the House Speaker, Republican Mike Johnson, was able to get this passed was by breaking it up into 4 individual aid packages, essentially based on different regions. So the largest proportion of that money, $61 billion, went to Ukraine, about $26 billion to Israel. Taiwan and allies in the Indo-Pacific got $8 billion, and then there was a separate bill that looked at a whole range of different issues, including a potential ban on the app TikTok, sanctions on Iran, China, and also looking to seize Russian assets. That, in many ways, was a way to sweeten the deal to help the hardline conservatives that have been fighting this aid package for many weeks, to try and help to get them on board. But bear in mind, many of them still voted against these 4 bills, and the only way that the House Speaker was able to get it passed was by relying on the Democrats in the House of Representatives.
These are not normal times, they're not. The world is destabilized and it's a tinderbox. It's a dangerous time. 3 of our primary adversaries, Russia and Iran and China, are working together, and they're being aggressors around the globe. And they're a global threat to our prosperity and our security. Their advance threatens the free world, and it demands American leadership. If we turn our backs right now, the consequences could be devastating. So this afternoon, the House acted, and we sent over to the Senate, and it will be transmitted shortly, our supplemental national security legislation.
And that now could potentially cost Mike Johnson, a Republican, his job as Speaker of the House. There is a threat to oust him. At least 3 Republicans have come forward threatening a potential vote, a vote that could come in the coming days. And if there is enough support, we could see him thrown out of the job, a job he's only been in for several months. Now, this has passed the House of Representatives, these 4 foreign aid bills. They'll now be moving on to the Senate, and we're expecting votes as early as Tuesday. We're likely to see a swift package, in particular the aid for Ukraine, Israel and for Taiwan. And the US President Joe Biden has said as soon as it gets to his desk, he will sign off on these, giving much needed aid packages to those foreign conflicts, aid that President Biden is fighting for and has been wanting to try and get passed for many months now. Nick Harper in Washington, reporting for DD India.
Now, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky expressed gratitude to the US after the House passed a bill providing additional funds to Ukraine in its ongoing conflict against Russia. Zelensky said the support still to be approved by the US Senate will be used by his country to bring a just end to this conflict.
Thanks to each and everyone who supported our package. This is the decision to protect lives. I would like to personally thank Speaker Mike Johnson and all American hearts who, like us in Ukraine, feel that Russian evil must not win. I hope that the package will get considered in the US Senate and forwarded to President Biden fast enough. We appreciate every manifestation of support for our state and our independence, our people and our life, which Russia wants to bury in ruins so much. America has shown its leadership from the first days of this war.
And the US leaders, from Democratic President Joe Biden to top Senate Republican Mitch McConnell, had been urging embattled Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson to bring the bill up for a vote. US President Joe Biden said in a statement that the bill comes at a moment of grave urgency, with Israel facing unprecedented attacks from Iran and Ukraine under continued bombardment from Russia. The legislation now proceeds to the Democratic Majority Senate, which passed a similar measure more than 2 months ago. The Senate is expected to pass the measure next week, sending it to Biden to sign into law. NATO and EU chiefs on Saturday hailed the US House of Representatives' approval of a long-awaited $61 billion aid package for Ukraine and urged the Senate to quickly clear the bill. NATO chief in a statement said that passing of this bill demonstrates the continued bipartisan support for Ukraine. He said this significant boost in aid will supplement the tens of billions of aid being provided to Ukraine by European allies. He urged Senate to pass the bill and send it to President Biden. Now, US marks the 25th anniversary of Columbine shooting. 25 years ago, a shooting incident shook Colorado. On April 20th, 1999, 2 students stormed through the school armed with multiple guns, killing 12 students and 1 teacher before fatally turning the guns on themselves in the library. In 1999, the nation watched in horror that day as television aired live images of students fleeing the building while police surrounded it. Bloody students were attended to by first responders, and others tearfully embraced each other as terrified parents arrived at the school waiting for news about their children. US President Joe Biden, joined by the members of his administration on Saturday, marked the 25th anniversary of the Columbine High School massacre in Colorado. President Biden expressed his sympathy in a statement memorizing the victims. In his statement, Biden noted that Columbine, which at the time was the deadliest shooting at a K-12 school, has been followed by hundreds of other mass school shootings. Biden commemorated the day by again calling on Congress to pass new gun violence legislation. Though the President signed the bipartisan Safer Communities Act into law in 2022, the package lacked a number of gun violence initiatives he had pushed for, including nationally mandated background checks for firearm purchases, a new national red flag law, and the reinstitution of the 1994 federal ban on assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris spoke with a survivor of the 1999 school massacre to mark the incident's 25th anniversary. The survivor of the incident shared her horrific tale and explained that it took her 20 years to seek professional trauma therapy. Meanwhile, Vice President said more needed to be done to tackle gun violence in the country. Dozens visited a memorial to the victims of school shooting, marking 25 years since the tragedy. Visitors silently look in the memorial stones and crosses bearing the names of the dead and injured. Planning for the Columbine Memorial began just 2 months after the shooting. It opened to the public in September 2007. At least 2 dead and 14 hospitalized in critical condition after a shooting at a block party in Tennessee of the United States. Police said the shooting happened at a block party where up to 300 people were gathered. The investigation into the shooting remains ongoing. Moving further, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken will travel to China next week to hold talks with senior officials in Shanghai and Beijing. This is Blinken's second visit to China in less than a year. During his visit, Blinken will hold talks with his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi in Beijing on a range of bilateral, regional and global issues. The visit follows a phone call this month between Biden and Xi in which they pledged to keep high-level contacts open. Since that call, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen has visited China and Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin has spoken by phone with his Chinese counterpart. Meetings at lower levels also have taken place. Now let's take a look at other stories making news across the globe. 58 people died and several others missing in Central African Republic after their riverboat capsized in capital Bangui. Tragedy struck as the overloaded river boat packed with mourners en route to a funeral capsized on Saturday. Witnesses said the wooden boat was carrying more than 300 people. The accident happened shortly after the boat left. Dubai's flagship carrier Emirates and sister airline Fly Dubai have restored normal operations after heavy rains caused severe flooding across the United Arab Emirates earlier this week. Emirates cancelled nearly 400 flights and delayed many more as a result of record storm that hit the desert city of Dubai on Tuesday. At least 98 people were killed and 89 others were injured since heavy rains began to lash Pakistan about 10 days ago. Several roads in Pakistan were swept away by floodwaters. Locals were left isolated and unable to travel after mountain roads were blocked by landslides. Local authorities declared a rain emergency in Upper and Lower Chitral in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa region until 30th April as more heavy rains are expected. Most people associate cherry blossoms with the color pink, but crowds are flocking to a botanical garden in western Japan to glimpse a rare variety that blooms in pale green. 3 Gyoiko Zakura cherry trees are located in the grounds of Kasugataisha Shrine, Nara City. The flowers will gradually turn pink over the course of a week or so. Sports updates now. In a high-octane showdown at Wembley Stadium, Manchester City secured their spot in the FA Cup finals with a narrow 1-0 victory over Chelsea. Bernardo Silva emerged as the hero, slotting home a crucial goal in the 84th minute. Both teams displayed relentless determination and intense end-to-end battle with opportunities flowing on both ends of the pitch. City's attacking trio of De Bruyne, Phil Foden and Jack Grealish kept the pressure on Chelsea's defence, while Chelsea's Nicholas Jackson and Cole Palmer tested City's goalkeeper Stephen Ortega with their shots. With his hard-fought win, Manchester City now awaits the outcome of the clash between Manchester United and Coventry City to determine their opponent in the final showdown slated for May 25th. And Arsenal bounced back from the Champions League heartbreak with a resounding 2-0 victory over Wolves at Molineux. With this win, Gunners reclaimed their spot at the summit of the Premier League. After recent heartbreaks, including a loss to Aston Villa and a disappointing exit from Europe, Mikel Arteta's side delivered a much-needed win. Leonardo Trossard's goal just before half-time was precisely what Arsenal needed. Captain Martin Odegaard added the second deep into stoppage time at the end of the game, turning it from a tight angle after his initial cross had been blocked. Now in Munich Open, India's Yuki Bhambri and his French partner Albano Olivetti will face off against Theo Aripej and Victor Cornia in men's doubles final on Sunday. As a pair, Yuki and Albano will be chasing their first title. Yuki last won an ATP title in October 2023 at Brest, an ATP Challenger Tour title in France. Notably, Olivetti was his opponent, who was paired with USA's Galloway. All right. Drag racers in Florida's Key West revved up for a unique race, donning high heels, colorful wigs and dresses. Racers navigated through a course peppered with tire obstacle paths and shopping carts as they battled in the 42nd annual Conch Republic Independence celebration. Alright, that's all for this edition of DD India Live, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS. Scan the QR code on the screen to download. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. From all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.